It's a hard thing to actually go through. Like, I've certainly thought about, bringing lawsuits against some of the people that have defamed me. Ah, stupid. Anyway, it gets into there where this person starts threatening like a Operation Woo-pocalypse.
And today, we are Gamergate. Today, trans Twitter is Gamergate.
This is human person Brianna Wu. Wu is an infamous online figure that gained notoriety in the Gamergate era. And this is because Wu was one of the brave people willing to stand up and call out the evil Gamergaters. Through going on this crusade, she also managed to socially climb her way into becoming a professional political activist. And in this position, she would do things such as writing an article on the Ralph male Ethan Ralph, claiming him to be the leader of Gamergate, and lead talks at conventions where she'd chastise her audience for being sexist and talk about how hard it is being a woman in game development.
This was, I think, the biggest thing that I don't believe that men get. When I turn on my Twitter and I have people mansplaining to me about how my opinions are wrong, just don't do it. It's exhausting to talk about these issues and be told over and over again, you are wrong.
Now you might be thinking, this guy seems incredibly bad faith in the way that he characterizes Brianna Wu. Well, I'll have you know that's not quite right. I take this tone simply because Brianna Wu is a fraud. First, let's take a look at her game, Revolution 60.
A grenade made strawberry jam out of you. The nanomachines in your blood are barely holding you together.
This game's Steam release has mostly negative reviews, and people claim in them that some of the QTEs are broken, and that some of the bosses on launch were unbeatable. But here we can see Brianna claiming that they delivered a video game that is a mix between Mass Effect and Heavy Rain.
We kind of came up with this idea to mix two games together. Heavy Rain and Mass Effect. I'm a huge fan of Mass Effect, and I'll never forget here in Boston, like my first game dev meetups, I went up in front of the crowd and I'm like, this is what I'm trying to develop. And I remember kind of being looked up at the dude's like, yeah, sure, you can do that, Brianna Wu. And we did.
Yes, you can probably just write that one off as her being a bit delusional, but seeing the level of quality that she was working at, the next claim she makes is absolutely preposterous.
Because we were working on some of the coolest Mass Effect technology you'll ever see, like stuff that really pushes this to the holodeck.
Now this is a common theme with Brianna. She can't help but talk herself up whenever she gets the chance, and sometimes when that's not enough, she will throw in a little lie to make it seem like she's an authority on the situation. Take for example, when after the hype of Gamergate died down, Brianna took a new career path in running for Congress, and she focused her campaign on issues around privacy rights and online harassment. Unsurprisingly, she failed, but more importantly for the case that I'm making here, Wu slips in the line to one of her ad campaigns, claiming that she is a cybersecurity expert.
I didn't come back on my own. I had a lot of help. Eventually, I became a software engineer and cybersecurity expert.
And a claim like this would be quite difficult to disprove, but fortunately for us, she has been confronted on this claim, and this is the reasoning she gave for saying that she was an expert in this field.
She's got no experience as a cybersecurity expert from what I can tell, but yeah, go for it.
Sure, as far as a policy level of expertise, I'm not claiming
a policy level? Dude, that's okay. That's
you need to let me talk.
So Brianna is an expert because she has more interest in it than other political candidates do. And this isn't like fluffing up a CV to get an IT job. This is lying to get into a position of power. And there is much more from this era that could be covered. If you want to find out more, this video is very helpful for me. And there's also a very funny conversation between Brianna Wu and Queeman that helps confirm everything in the video is correct. With Brianna's political career failing, it left her with nothing to do. But she somehow had enough contacts to worm her way into the Political Action Committee Progressive Victory. So simply, Progressive Victory, or PV, takes donations and uses this money to campaign for progressive political causes. And somehow, Brianna found themselves in charge of these funds. So in a stroke of genius, Brianna reached out to the Twitch poll/online streaming group of content creators to try to find people that would work with Progressive Victory. And she notably made some quite questionable hires. Take, for example, Wick TV. This is a panel show host that at the time would stream to consistently less than 100 viewers on Twitch, who is most well known for losing a tooth, attending a panel about map advocacy, and for hosting panels where hijinks would happen, such as one occasion someone admitted to sucking off a dog.
Have you had sex with any animals?
It's like Vaporeon.
I tasted a dog's once.
Why nobody higher up in Progressive Victory questioned the hiring of this guy or put a stop to this sooner is a mystery to me. Wu did try to enchant others that she thought could be susceptible to her gok powers.
I note that my reputation precedes me. It seems that you've got some familiarity with my work, it would seem.
So, I'd love to talk about this on stream. The only thing I've ever seen from you was you going after Lav, which I fucking loved.
Okay.
I watched all of
Damn.
that because Lav is awful, but we can let's talk about it on stream.
But fortunately for the case of Mr. Logic, he was able to stay below 75% and not get ensnared in her trap.
Okay. I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care about this. What is this here?
Yeah, no worries, man.
But she did get enough people involved, such as Connor Counterpoints, to be able to start the project. And what this looked like for the most part wasn't political campaigning or creating quality content, because if we take a quick look at the Progressive Victory channel, at this time they were not posting original content. But there are epic videos, such as a 10-minute segment from a Xanderhall stream, a Destiny clip, that's quite the thumbnail there, and no way, a Hunter Avalon debate with 300 views. That's money well spent, Brianna. And it would be wrong of me to not point out they did eventually end up creating some of their own original content, but to be honest, they probably would have been better off not doing so.
Drink out of, paper straws while Taylor Swift is taking a private jet to get a cheeseburger or something.
A complete unambiguous win to the far right.
Anybody want to disagree with me? Fight.
Welcome to Progressive Victory's Spectrum, where we'll finally find out, do all progressives think the same?
And I refuse to believe that even with Brianna's incompetence, she actually thought that someone like Wick, with his 100 viewer Twitch panels, would have any impact in real life politics. But what this did mean is that she could start rubbing shoulders with people that she was obviously a fan of, and she could show up to these ship panels and become a notable member of the online politics sphere.
Shut the fuck up! Holy God. Okay.
Shit,
I didn't bring up the
Shut up and let me finish what I'm saying. Okay?
If you want to, first of all, I'm not the one screaming.
Can you mute him?
Yeah, Stardust, mute me. I'm the one. I'm the one acting
guys,
deranged.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah, I think it's safe to say she didn't conduct herself too well. She'd have appearances like this and she'd end up fighting with people in DMs, threatening to show them some real gangster shit in real life. Just remember at this point, Brianna was supposed to be part of a political movement with some serious monetary backing. But all good things must come to an end, and Brianna ended up parting ways with Progressive Victory, creating a poverty epidemic throughout the online politics streaming scene. But you're probably not going to be surprised to hear that hasn't stopped Brianna seeking attention. For those of you who aren't in the know of what Brianna Woo's up to nowadays, her online presence has taken quite an unpredictable turn. Brianna now makes content about how the left has gone too far and how trans people are just so crazy, but she's one of the good ones. Hey Trigonometry Podcast, can you accept me? Can you accept me, please?
This is not right. This is crazy town. I didn't get into progressive politics to talk about trans women having periods. I got into progressive politics to pass fucking healthcare.
She is just so cool. I've been watching a lot of right-wing garbage recently, but you know what, after seeing this, I think it's time to take the Democrats a bit more seriously, is what I think Brianna is going for with this. But in reality, I think it's just going to be more, wow, even the trans is saying the left is crazy. Oh cool, I wonder what Dennis Prager's got to say.
One of Prager's rules of life, those who don't fight evil hate those who do fight evil.
But fortunately for, well, people that don't like Brianna Wu, people do seem to notice that there's something a bit off about some of the things that Brianna says.
I used to think you were completely full of shit. When you talked about cancel culture, I was like, just get over it. You've got every privilege in the world, and now they've run this playbook on me. I understand what happens when they go after your livelihood and your friends, and they make a price to just speak your mind and stand up to them. We can't just, every time someone has a different opinion than us, load it up with moralistic language so we win the argument and they're a terrible person and call it a day and never have a discussion about anything.
Brianna is not the person people want to hear talk about this. She, well, at least claims to have worked extensively with the Twitter trust and safety team after the Gamergate era, and she is pro-deplatforming. Oh, but now this is affecting her. She wants everyone that she's been antagonistic to for the past decade to buddy up with her and support her. And although there is some pushback, there are other people that are so desperate to have their beliefs regurgitated back into their mouths like retarded little baby birds. She keeps getting on these shows, and she still has her little tricks, like she always kisses the ass of whoever show she's appearing on. With her conversation on the Free Press, she opens by saying, "Oh my god, it's like mad that these people go after you on Twitter for no reason."
But it's just like, you have been under attack by people for the meanest, most unreasonable stuff for years. Like, talking to you like you're a white supremacist. It's insanity.
I left my KKK hood at home.
On the Hetero Dorks podcast, she immediately opens with complimenting Corinna Khan's eyebrows.
Are those your real eyebrows? They're so gorgeous. I can't
You're
even
talking
believe
about Corinna's eyebrows, right?
And on Piers Morgan's show, she slips in this comment about how Piers was really good with handling this crazy trans.
Properly had.
Pierce,
and that's the one Democrats have failed on.
Pierce, this whole thing changed 10 years ago. If I was writing a book on the history of trans rights and when it went wrong, it was on your show. 10 years ago, Janet Mock on CNN, you held an interview with her. We were not talking about trans stuff back then. Everyone in the community was thrilled about it. What did she do? She went on your program. She lectured you. She was beyond rude. She told you she was not interested in your opinion on anything. She just shut you down. Pierce, this is the problem. And I'm saying this to you respectfully, but I've seen your evolution over the last 10 years, and I understand why you have less patience from my side than you did 10 years ago.
And I'd like to sidetrack on this point quickly. There's a YouTuber called Jose that has a Piers Morgan video, and in this video they claim that Brianna completely mischaracterizes how Janet Mock acted on Pierce's show, and Janet's actually very reasonable and nice when talking to Pierce.
Why didn't you correct me at the time? Why didn't you correct me?
I did not, because I was
If you
scared.
felt that strongly.
I did not, because I
Scared
was
of what?
scared. And I wanted to be
Scared
a
of what?
cordial guest. And I think that that was probably incorrect of me. I wanted to be kind, I wanted to be generous, because I was appreciative of having 2 segments on a mainstream show.
That's the clip they play, which does make it seem as so, and I thought, great, I can lift this point from Jose's video and look very cool and inquisitive in the process. So I watched back this interview that you can see here to try to get some other clips to make it less obvious that I was stealing Jose's talking points. And Janet is so rude and dismissive, to the point that Brianna's recollection of this, although Janet did go on twice and they were initially very friendly, which Brianna does get wrong, still is a fair characterization of Janet here. So thanks, Jose, you idiot. And look, I don't really care about Piers Gobshite Morgan falling out with some trans 10 years ago. I doubt Piers does that much either. But bringing this up to stroke Pierce's ego seemingly worked, because she was invited back on the show, and the next time that she was on, she just sat there and pulled these weird faces whilst this other trans activist argued with Pierce, and she just acts as his cheerleader, just throwing in jabs when she can.
She can't answer, Pierce. She can't answer. She will not defend these brain-dead tactics.
Like she goes on the Hetero Dorks podcast, opens with the butter up like I mentioned.
Are those your real eyebrows? They're so gorgeous.
Then there's this interaction.
Just
Who calls you a turf?
Recently.
Oh, recently.
Everybody.
I don't. I
Everybody.
promise you, Brianna Wu, I will not call you a turf.
Thank you. That's very offensive.
I will call you a tranny, but not a turf.
And then she turns around and talks about people protesting Israel and is like, oh, I'm so sorry.
I hope you can hear me when I say I'm genuinely sorry. We should not have let it get to this point, and I feel responsible for that.
So why would you feel responsible for that?
Well, Gamergate in 2010, we kind of pioneered this SJW model of moralizing everything. And I think if you made a list of the public figures that kind of brought us to this point of this progressive movement, I would certainly be on there.
So, because I was a high-profile member of the anti-Gamergate movement, my actions, mine, Brianna Woo's, led to people going crazy about the Israel-Palestine conflict. This is the self-importance that Brianna Wu is still suffering with. And these podcasts she does now, they are hard to listen to. These people are clearly trying to sound smart and profound, but in reality, it's all just so stupid.
But I feel it's become like a kind of moral Disneyland for a lot of people.
Yes.
That they've lost sight of what's actually at stake here. The Palestinians are the kind of it's Star Wars for them, and the Palestinians are like these kind of Jedi, and it's extremely toxic.
And this isn't a one-off. She always talks about Israel-Palestine, and she is just really obsessed with the Jew stuff.
Like, there were some very sweet girls that helped me a lot. There was actually, there was one Jewish professor that really tanked for me with the administration.
I'm not going to say what race, what people, doctor. It was a Jewish doctor.
And it's not just the Israel-Palestine stuff. Everything in these podcasts is so repetitive. Like, there is still always a Gamergate chapter. Everything is now Gamergate.
Yes.
Brianna, what is Gamergate? Because I know my mom is going to listen to this,
Yes.
and she is not going to know what it is.
Gamergate was the prototype for how we now argue online. You have been a victim of the Gamergate playbook. This is how it works. You take someone that you want to shut the hell up, and you go through everything they've ever said through their whole life until you find something to attack them with. And then you send waves of anonymous accounts out there to socially murder them. You do it again and again. So it involves death threats, it involves rape threats, it involves trying to get you fired. And it's a playbook. They ran it on feminists like myself in the video game industry. And now everyone has taken the same playbook and we all get to enjoy it. It's wonderful. How do you like the Gamergate playbook?
Well, okay, so
Gamergate is such a defining moment for Brianna's life that she now somehow has reasoned that every online argument relates back to it and is therefore relevant to her. But now, in the weirdest turn of events, Brianna Wu is the one talking about non-binary characters in Call of Duty whilst on some academic-ish podcast like she's Sargon of Akkad or something.
The stupidest example I've ever seen is in Call of Duty Cold War, which is a game that came out a few years ago. When you select your character in Call of Duty, the biggest bro shooter on earth, set in the 1980s, Ronald Reagan is a character in this game. You can make your character non-binary, as if historically we had non-binary people in the 80s, like serving in the CIA and in the military.
Who is this for, seriously? And you'd think someone like Brianna, with the career path that they've had, might be able to engage in stuff like this in a unique way. But no, she's just like non-binary in Call of Duty. Isn't that just crazy? And then obviously there's the trans talking point. But nowadays it's all about how she's going to get cancelled by trans Twitter. She almost sounds like a hack comedian doing a podcast tour the way she is so obsessed with talking about this.
So, look, this is going to get me canceled by trans Twitter. If trans Twitter sees this, they're going to get really angry at me, but it's the truth. I think, oh boy, I'm ready to get canceled. Let's do it. Let's say something spicy. And today, we are Gamergate. Today, trans Twitter is Gamergate.
And that's really it for these podcasts. There is very little of any value. It's just like, Jews, have you thought about Jews? Do you remember Gamergate? Trans people, Gamergates, trans people, non-binary. It is enough to drive someone crazy. But hey, there's always the Dollcast. If you aren't aware of the trans terminology doll that Brianna now associates with, it means being desirable and normatively feminine. And now she's doing talks with people like Blair White. Not much to note on the Blair White talk, but she does reveal that she's had 3 surgeries on her jaw to make it smaller, and now has a face that's partially paralyzed because of them.
Let me give you a really specific example. I've had 3 separate surgeries on my jaw to make it small enough that I look decent. I have partial paralysis on one side of my face. These surgeries are not innocuous.
Now, I'm not sure who to credit with this, but I did hear it theorized that Brianna has a long-term goal of becoming one of the characters from Revolution 60. You can actually find this theorized all the way back in a 2015 Inc. article. Wu, 37, is 6'2", slender and gangly. She's dressed today in black leggings, a miniskirt and leather boots. Her long brown hair is streaked with pink-red dye, and her bangs keep falling in her eyes. She almost looks like an anime character, or perhaps a superhero straight out of Revolution 60. And with how she's presenting herself now, I feel that's become more of an astute observation than I once first believed. But anyway, Dollcast, let's go.
Good morning and welcome to Dollcast, where mostly normal women bring you the real tea.
So yeah, call me a lazy YouTuber, but I didn't really watch any of this. I did watch a little bit, but everyone has their limit, and yeah, I reached mine when going through this.
I shouldn't admit this because I'm married, but one of my favorite things about transition isn't the ladies. It's like when I was, so I left, I had an early morning hit, and then I went straight over to LAX. My makeup is done. I've gotten dressed really well. I'm just marching to the airport. I've got gorgeous shoes on, gorgeous dress, and guys are looking at me. I just love like looking at them back and giving them a smile. So, you know, I'm married, but I'm not dead.
Oh my God. Don't tell Frank that.
I won't. He'll never see this. He hasn't seen Dollcast.
Yeah, cool. Dollcast. Go watch that if you want, if that's what you're into. But I'm going to leave it there. Thanks for watching.